My name is Sarah Miller. My husband, Mark, and I had built this life over 12 years. It wasn't perfect, but whose was? We had the usual stresses, mortgages, demanding jobs, the slow, gradual shift from passionate lovers to comfortable partners. But I thought we were a team. I believed the foundation was solid, even if the paint was chipping a little. That particular Tuesday night started like any other. Mark was downstairs, ostensibly cleaning up after dinner, but I could hear the distinct, rapid-fire tapping of his thumbs on his phone screen. He'd been more attached to it lately, always angling the screen away, a new password I didn't know locking me out. "Mommy, story time," Emily's voice, bright and commanding, cut through my thoughts. I pushed the unease about Mark's phone away. I was probably just being paranoid. "I'm coming, sweetie," I called back, grabbing the well-worn copy of Charlotte's Web from the shelf. Emily's room was a sanctuary of innocence. Pink walls, a canopy bed littered with stuffed animals, and a nightlight that cast a soft, warm glow across everything. She was already tucked in, her damp blonde hair fanned out on the pillow, her blue eyes wide with anticipation. She looked so much like her father. I settled onto the edge of her bed, the springs groaning in protest, and opened the book. I began to read, doing the voices for Wilbur and Charlotte, losing myself in the simple, profound tale of friendship and loyalty. Emily's eyelids began to droop, her breathing evening out into the slow, deep rhythm of approaching sleep. Just as I reached the part where Charlotte weaves the word, "terrific," into her web, a faint bzzzt sound came from the hallway. I glanced over. The door was ajar, and the light from the master bedroom across the hall spilled out in a soft yellow rectangle. Mark must have gone upstairs to get something. I looked back at Emily. She was almost asleep. I softly finished the sentence, closed the book, and leaned over to kiss her forehead. "Good night, my love," I whispered. "Good night, Mommy," she murmured, already half in a dream. It was then, in that quiet, suspended moment, as I was pulling the duvet up to her chin, that I saw it. My angle from the bed, through the crack in the door, gave me a sliver of a view into our bedroom. Mark was standing by his side of the bed, his back to me. He had changed into a fresh t-shirt, and he was holding his phone. But it wasn't the act of looking at his phone that froze the blood in my veins. It was the way he was looking at it. A slow, secret smile spread across his face, a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. It was a smile of intimate, private joy. Then, he lifted the phone, and in the dim light of our room, I saw him take a picture. A picture of himself. A selfie. My breath hitched. Why would he be taking a selfie with that look on his face at 8:30 on a random Tuesday night? My mind, that treacherous organ, began connecting dots I didn't even know existed. The new phone password, the constant texting, the emotional distance that I had chalked up to work stress. He lowered the phone, his thumbs flying across the screen again. A sending motion, a final tap, and then, the smile again. Wider this time, accompanied by a shake of his head, as if in disbelief at something wonderful. A cold dread, so profound it felt like a physical weight, settled in the pit of my stomach. I felt like an intruder in my own home, a ghost witnessing the unraveling of my own life from the shadows of my daughter's bedroom. I stayed there, frozen, for what felt like an eternity, until I heard him pad into the bathroom and close the door. Somehow, I found the strength to move. I stood on shaky legs, kissed Emily's head once more, and crept out of her room, closing the door silently behind me. I walked into our bedroom, the air now feeling thick and foreign. I could hear the shower running. My eyes went directly to his phone, lying face down on his nightstand. It seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Every moral fiber in my being screamed that this was a violation of trust. But a stronger, more primal instinct, the instinct of self-preservation, took over. I had to know. I picked up the phone. The screen lit up, demanding a password. My old one, our anniversary, didn't work. I tried Emily's birthday. Incorrect. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. Think, Sarah, think. What was important to him? And then it hit me. His new obsession, the vintage Mustang he'd been saving to restore. He talked about it constantly. I typed in the model year, 1967. The screen unlocked. For a moment, I just stared at the home screen, a generic photo of a mountain range. This was the point of no return. Once I tapped that messaging icon, my old life would be gone forever. I took a shaky breath and opened his texts. There were a few threads from his friends, his brother. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then I saw it. A name I didn't recognize, Chloe. The preview of the last message read, "Can't wait to see you too." My thumb trembled as I tapped on the thread. And my world shattered. It wasn't just a few flirty messages. It was a torrent, a waterfall of intimate, passionate, deeply personal words exchanged over weeks, maybe months. There were photos. The selfie I had just witnessed him taking was there, sent just moments ago. And in response, from Chloe, was a photo of a woman, pretty, young, with long dark hair and a confident smile, lying in what looked like a hotel bed. The message underneath her photo was a heart emoji and the words, "Counting down the hours, handsome." I scrolled up, my vision blurring with tears I didn't yet allow to fall. I read their plans, their declarations of love. They had a pet name for me. The Warden. He complained to her about me, sharing private details of our struggles, painting me as a nagging, cold wife who didn't understand him. He told her I'd let myself go, a cruel blow that landed with the force of a physical punch. He shared his dreams with her, dreams I thought we shared. Traveling to Italy, buying a lake house. He was planning a future with her, while I was planning our daughter's 8th birthday party. The most gut-wrenching message was from 2 days prior. Chloe had written, "I hate that you have to go home to her. That you share a bed with her." And Mark's reply, "It's just a bed. It's just a house. You have my heart. You're my real home." The sound of the shower shutting off jolted me back to reality. A cold, calculated calm descended upon me. I quickly took out my own phone and, with trembling hands, began taking pictures of the screen. I captured everything, the photos, the most damning messages, the "I love yous." I didn't know why I was doing it, only that I needed evidence. Proof that I wasn't crazy. I placed his phone back exactly as I found it, face down on the nightstand. Then I walked out of our bedroom, down the stairs, and into the living room. I sat on the sofa, my body numb, my mind a roaring static. The man I had loved, the man I had built a family with, the man I trusted to protect me, had built a secret, vibrant life in the shadows of our own. He came downstairs a few minutes later, smelling of soap and his familiar aftershave. He smiled at me, a casual, easy smile. "Hey, you get him down okay?" I looked at him. I really looked at him. The man I thought I knew was gone. In his place was a stranger, a skilled actor who had been performing the role of devoted husband for an audience of one. "Me. Yeah," I said, my voice sounding strangely flat. "She's down." He flopped onto the sofa next to me, picking up the remote. "Good. Long day. Mind if I watch the end of the game?" And that was the moment the shock began to recede, replaced by a white-hot, clarifying fury. He wasn't just a cheat, he was a coward. He could sit next to me, the scent of another woman's digital intimacy still clinging to his fingers, and ask about a basketball game. I knew I couldn't confront him then. Not with Emily sleeping upstairs. Not when I felt so raw and volatile. I needed a plan. I needed to be smart. The next few days were a masterclass in deception on my part. I played the part of the slightly stressed but normal wife. I made his coffee. I asked about his work. I went through the motions of our life, all while feeling like my insides had been scooped out and replaced with ice. I contacted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Brenda Shaw, and showed her the photos I'd taken. She advised me to gather financial documents and say nothing until we were ready. The facade was the hardest thing I have ever had to maintain. Every time he touched me, I recoiled inwardly. Every time he laughed at something on TV, I wondered if he was laughing with Chloe about the Warden. The home we had built together had become a prison, and he was the Warden, not me. The breaking point came 4 days later. It was a Saturday. We were supposed to go to a neighborhood barbecue. Mark was in a great mood, whistling as he got dressed. He said he was going to run to the hardware store first to pick up some weed killer. A sick feeling coiled in my stomach. The hardware store was in the opposite direction of the one he always went to. It was near a boutique hotel I'd seen in the background of one of Chloe's photos. I didn't say a word. I waited until his car pulled out of the driveway, the sound of the engine fading away. Then, I moved. I went to my laptop and opened a tracking app we used for finding our phones. We had it for safety, a mutual decision made years ago. I watched the little dot representing his phone not go to the hardware store, but to a mid-range hotel downtown. That was it, the final piece of proof. The digital betrayal had become a physical one. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt a terrifying stillness. I called my mother and asked her to pick up Emily from a playdate and keep her for the night, inventing a last-minute work emergency. Then, I called Brenda, the lawyer. It's happening now, I said, my voice eerily calm. Stay put, she advised. Do not engage. Let him come home. We have everything we need. I spent the next few hours in a trance. I packed a bag for myself and for Emily. I gathered the important documents, birth certificates, passports, financial records, that I had quietly been collecting. I placed them by the front door. When I heard his car pull back into the driveway around 6 o'clock, my heart didn't flutter with fear or anger. It just beat, a steady, mechanical thump. He walked in, still smelling faintly of the cologne he wore on special occasions, a smile on his face. Hey, honey, got the stuff? You ready for the barbecue? He asked, dropping his keys in the bowl by the door. I was standing in the middle of the living room, my arms crossed over my chest. Emily's at my mom's, I said. His smile faltered slightly. Oh, why's that? I needed to talk to you. Without interruptions. The air in the room shifted. He knew. A career salesman, he was an expert at reading a room, and the temperature in this one had just dropped below freezing. Talk about what? He asked, his tone guarded. I looked him dead in the eye, the man I had shared a bed with for 12 years. I know about Chloe. The color drained from his face. It was a textbook reaction. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Denial, then calculation, flashed in his eyes. Sarah, I don't, what are you talking about? Don't, I said, my voice low and steady. Just don't. I saw you that night. I saw you take the selfie. I saw your phone. I read every single word. I know you were with her today at the Riverview Hotel. The use of the hotel's name was the kill shot. His shoulders slumped. The facade crumbled completely. Sarah, God, it's not what you think, he began, his voice pleading. It was a mistake. It just happened. I've been so stressed, and you've been so distant. I held up a hand, silencing him. Stop. Do not blame me for your choices. Do not insult my intelligence by saying, it just happened. You pursued her. You told her you love her. You told her I was the warden. You told her she was your real home. The shock on his face that I knew these specific, damning details was a pitiful sight. He was completely exposed. What are you going to do? He whispered. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I said, gesturing to the bags by the door. I'm leaving tonight. Emily and I will be staying with my parents. You need to leave us alone. All communication will go through my attorney. You can't just take my daughter. He said, a spark of anger breaking through his shame. I can, and I will. And if you want to fight me on this, I have a file of screenshots that will make any judge see exactly what kind of man you are. A man who lies, cheats, and badmouths the mother of his child to his mistress. The fight went out of him. He just stood there, looking small and broken in the middle of our living room. The room where we'd put up our Christmas tree, where we'd celebrated birthdays, where we'd built a life. I'm sorry, he mumbled, tears in his eyes. I never meant to hurt you. It was the most hollow, cliched thing he could have said. And it was in that moment that any lingering love I had for him finally, irrevocably, died. Yes, you did, I replied, picking up my bag. You just didn't think I'd find out. I walked out of the house that night, leaving behind the ghost of my marriage and the man who had killed it. The weeks and months that followed were a hurricane of pain, lawyers, and difficult explanations to a heartbroken little girl who couldn't understand why Daddy didn't live with us anymore. But something else happened, too. In the ashes of the life I thought I had, I began to find myself again. The woman I was before I became Mark's wife. The woman who was strong, capable, and resilient. The divorce was finalized, and while the scars remain, they no longer define me. I learned that the most shocking part of the story wasn't the infidelity itself. It was the chilling ease with which a person can lead a double life, and the profound strength you can find in the wreckage when you are finally forced to see the truth. The truth I saw that night, while putting my daughter to bed, was a devastating gift. It shattered my world, but in doing so, it freed me to build a new one based on reality, not on lies. A world where I am no longer the warden of someone else's prison, but the architect of my own freedom.